And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman, where we speak about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon to be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the podcast and hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. So today, we're flying solo today, okay? And because I missed just spewing forth my brilliance. So I figured, what the heck? It's time to have a solo episode. And what I'd like to speak to you about is inheritance. Okay, inheritance is a fascinating issue. It's an issue that when you're younger, you never think about. Then you hit a certain age. I don't want to give what that age is, because that would sort of give away my age. But if you've not yet lost a parent, everything you're speaking about is, you're caring for elderly parents. I speak to my friends all the time, and this one's got this issue, and this one's got that issue. And I speak to clients a lot when they get sort of middle-aged plus about estate planning issues. And inevitably I hear from them, oh, I don't really need to do anything specific because my kids all get along really, really well. Nothing could happen, right? They'll agree on everything and everything will go smooth. And then what I usually do is I take a swig of coffee like this to hide the face. I'm not a good poker player. To hide the face that I make when I hear that, because I have a lot of experience, okay? And one of the things I know is that even in the best of families, issues arise when it comes to an inheritance, to receiving an inheritance. And it's not because people don't get along with each other necessarily. It's because everybody has their own agenda, right? There might be somebody who desperately needs money. They're not doing so well, they need money. There's somebody else who says, you know what, let it ride, or if they've got property, we'll develop it. There are all kinds of issues out there. I hear all the time. The most famous one I've written about, I've spoken about, I know a family, I'm going to change some of the details, but a family that owns a lot of property in Los Angeles. And they all the siblings, I think there's 4 or 5 siblings, they all live in the greater Los Angeles area, except for one sibling who lives here in the Holy Land. And the one who's living in the Holy Land is not doing particularly well financially. Now, this property, ladies and gentlemen, is worth now, okay, probably close to $60 million, okay? $60 million. Can I tell you what? They have been fighting for about 8 years, okay? Because one of the children says, well, I took care of the property, I took care of mom and dad more than everybody else. I want an extra, at that time, a couple of years ago, I want an extra $1 million. By now, he might be wanting an extra $2 million. I don't know. So I told the person here, you know what, who cares, right? Your take is like, even after taxes, your take is going to be like $12 million. So you know what? Your sibling is a bum, okay? Let God reckon with him, okay? And if he wants to extort you, let him extort you. Give him the extra $1 million, okay? What do you care? You're living on charity, literally living on charity, okay? So just give in, and then you'll have, okay, so you won't have, your $14 million, you'll only have 12. Big deal. Is that going to change your life? Well, it is going to change your life because you're not going to be on welfare anymore, okay? So there are all kinds of issues that people have, and I strongly encourage, if you have issues, you can speak to me, okay? Or speak to other estate planners, right? Get yourself a will or do some kind of estate planning so that you can sort of dictate where assets are going to go and have everything ready, right? You should live until 120, but then if you were to pass, that your kids aren't put into a situation that they're going to start fighting. Because first of all, it's not fair for them. Second of all, why create discord, right? And the fact of the matter is, yeah, the kids are the ones who are fighting, but in certain respects, the parents who didn't take care of what they should have taken care of are sort of responsible. And after all that preamble, that's not what I want to speak about inheritance. What I want to speak about in terms of inheritance is how to view inheritance. How should you view inheritance in terms of your own financial plan, right? Let's say that you know that you're going to be coming into certain money. Okay. Now, how do you know? Because there are two models, right? There's certain people, there's certain parents who speak openly with their children about everything they're going to get. There are other parents who speak closely about everything they're not going to get, right? They don't tip their cards. They don't say anything. Everything financially is a secret. Okay. In that case, if you're one of those children, right, of parents who don't really talk, you still don't have to put your head in the sand. Okay. You can sort of figure out, well, they've got a house I know about. I don't know about anything else, but they got a house and we're 3 people and the house is worth, $800,000. I should get something. Okay. You can make certain basic calculations. But if you're in one of those families where they actually talk to you openly about it, how should you treat that potential inheritance? Okay. So my approach is, in most cases, is to ignore it. Try and make ends meet on your own. Don't rely on the inheritance unless your parents are either very, very ill, God forbid, they're very, very old, or they're very, very, very wealthy, right? If you know you're coming into tens of millions of dollars, you don't have to put your head in the sand, okay? You can calculate that. But if you're going to come into a couple $100,000, sort of a standard inheritance, the standard type of inheritance that I see, try and make ends meet without it. Because you know what? We've had 2000, the markets in 2000, 2008, now 2022. You have bad years in the stock market. You have horrible years in the property market. And what you think you might be getting, you might not really be getting. Or your parents might if they're sick, they might get better. They might live a lot longer than anybody gave them a chance to, and they're going to blow through the money. So I really don't like the idea of calculating or using the inheritance as part of your financial plan. I'm in the minority, okay? But I don't like that. I also think it's sort of creepy, but we'll leave that. Again, if you know that you stand to inherit huge amounts of money, then don't put your head in the sand. Still try and do things on your own. Don't rely on the inheritance, but you have to realize, okay, I'm going to be getting $30 million. You don't have to be, we've got to save for the next 40 years. My parents are 95. I'm going to get tens of millions of dollars, but I've got to save for the next 40 years and only eat tuna fish, right? That's a little bit, extreme, as they like to say. Should you speak to your parents about potential inheritance? Once again, I'm in the minority. I really don't like the idea. Okay, I think you should have open eyes, look around, right? Absorb, try and figure out what's going on. In certain respects, you can maybe calculate how much you're going to get. I really don't like the idea. I think it's morbid to ask parents, so, hey, mom, how much am I going to get when you die? I know I'm making a joke out of it. You can have a much more serious financial planning type of approach. I still think it's gross and not so appropriate. Again, if your parents want to volunteer the information, go for it, okay? But if they don't, and for you to make the first move, I don't like it so much. It's really not my style. And again, just do it on your own. And ultimately, right, until 120, you either will or will not come into something. But I don't like the idea of asking them up front. I do think that's not so cool. So there you have it. Okay, that's how you treat an inheritance in terms of your own personal financial planning, right? You don't have to put your head in the sand if you know either imminently or you're going to come into a lot of money. You can calculate that. But in most other cases, even if your parents tell you you're going to get X, Y, and Z, try and make ends meet on your own, because you don't know, right? We never know. We've seen it over and over and over again in the last 20 or 30 years that just, the best laid plans of mice and men, as they say. And you just don't know, right? They say, well, you're going to get X, Y, and Z. And at the end of the day, they blow through, or the value of the money drops and you get whatever you get, a lot less than you planned on. So why bother really planning on it? That's my approach. So that's the real tip of the day. But going back to the first thing we started with, which was not the essential part of this episode, take matters into your own hand. Do your family, your children a big favor and prepare, right? Prepare for your own estate. You should live and be well, but do them a favor and prepare and make yourself a will. And if you need to do a trust or all those kinds of other things that go into estate planning, take care of it so that your kids really are the way they do act the way you think they're going to act in harmony. Because I can tell you, sitting across from heirs all the time, most of the time, it's not as harmonious as you may think. Okay, thanks so much for tuning in. And again, if you've got any questions or comments about inheritances, giving, receiving, what have you, please feel free to use me as a resource. Feel free to connect with me. You can email me, message me, whatever it is. Okay, Thanks so much for tuning in to the Aaron Katzman Show. We speak to you about your life, your money, and your investments. Don't forget to hit the like button below, subscribe to both the podcast and the YouTube channel. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will speak to you soon.